Hello students, this is Nirmala from Vivekananda Academy of Human Excellence, CBSE. Today we are going to see class 8 history chapter number. The name of chapter number 4 is Tribal Decoys and the Vision of Golden Age. At the introduction part, we will see life of people in ancient India. You can see here in the picture tribal revolts in India during British period. When Britishers came in our country, how the people have become rebellious, or many of the years previously they have not uttered any word. They thought that these traders are good, they have come for our profit, but now slowly people understood that how they have become the settlers, or they have become the rulers over our country, and we must raise our voice against them to get our rights. So previously in ancient India, how the people were living, how their lifestyle, that we will see. The tribes had many customs and rituals. These were very different from those of Brahmanas. But how did the tribal groups live? So if we compare these tribes or tribal people to the Brahmins or to the another common people, their rituals, their customs, their traditions were very much different. Then what was their lifestyle, how they were living? By the 19th century, tribal group or tribal people in different parts of India undertook a variety of activities. We will now look at some of the most famous activities of the ancient people in India. So these tribal people, every group has different name, or they which work they were doing, that also were very much different from one group to another. We will see those activities what the people were doing. How did tribal groups live? Some were Zoom cultivators. So there were many tribal groups, many customs they were following, many traditions they had. So from that, one group was there who were called as Zoom cultivators. So what is this Zoom cultivation? Zoom cultivation is basically shifting cultivation, is shift from one place to another. That is called as shifting cultivation or Zoom cultivation. It was done on small patches of land, mostly in forests. The cultivators cut the treetops to allow sunlight to reach the ground. They burnt the vegetation on the land to clear it for cultivation. These are important activities for the Zoom cultivation. First of all, these people were selecting the small patches of land and which was there in the forest. They were cutting the treetops which were there, which trees were there, to allow the sunlight, because thick forests were there, sunlight was not reaching up to the land. So to allow this sunlight, treetops have been cut by these people first of all. Then which remaining branches, leaves, or which parts of these trees were there, that they were burning and mixing in the soil, which ashes will be there, remainings are there, that they were burning. Once the crop was ready and harvested, they moved to another field and left that field fallow for several years. So when they were harvesting the crop, once they saw, so at the time of harvesting, they were harvesting, and without thinking anything or without staying on that same place, they were moving to the another field or in the search of another land, and that land they were living as it is, as a fallow land for the several years, to increase the natural fertilization of the soil, not natural fertility of the soil. That land was kept as it is for many of the years. This is known as shifting cultivation or zoom cultivation, and the people who were doing this, those were called as zoom cultivators. Then the next group was hunters and gatherers. In many regions, tribal groups lived by hunting animals and gathering forest produce. They used many forest shrubs and herbs for medicinal purpose. They sold forest produce in the local markets. The Baigas of central India refused to work for others. These are some features of hunters or gatherers. The most important work they were doing, that was hunting animals and gathering forest produce. In the forest, herbs, shrubs, medicinal plants, fruits, flowers, roots, many things were available. So to gather all those things, useful things, edible things they were collecting, those were called as gatherers. And who were hunting the animals, those were called as hunters. They used many forest shrubs and herbs for medicinal purpose. These people, tribal people, knew very well that which plant is useful or which part of any plant is useful. Some plants roots are useful, some plants stems are useful, some plants leaves, some plants flowers, some plants fruit is useful, some plants raw material is useful, some plants material should be boiled or cooked, then it will be edible. Like that, which knowledge was there, that all things were known by these tribal people. They sold forest produce in the local markets like honey, some medicinal plants or medicines, some vegetables, roots. These things they were selling in the nearby market also. The Baigas of central India refused to work for others. Now these Baigas were the one group who were working for themselves, collecting the food items from the forest, hunting the animals for their purpose, but now they are refusing here to work for other people, or especially to work for Britishers. Troops had to indulge in buy and sell activities to get the goods that were not produced within the locality. It means these groups often needed to buy and sell in order to be able to get the goods that were not produced within this locality, and that's why they have become dependent on the traders and money lenders. They have to purchase, or they have to bring money from the money lenders, or they have to take some loans, or in advance they have to take money from the traders or the money lenders, and then they can bring that required material from other places or other localities. Traders came around with things for sale and sold the goods at high prices. Moneylenders gave loans with which the tribals met their cash needs, adding to what they earned. So the earning was very less actually of these tribals, but money lenders or the traders were taking advantage of these people. The next we'll see some people were the herders. They were herding the animals. Many tribal groups resorted to herding and rearing animals. They also gathered forest produce. So these people were rearing the animals, herding the animals, as well as when they were moving from the forest, they were collecting the forest produce also, which things, fruits, herbs, vegetables, that material also they were collecting. They were pastoralists who moved with their herds of cattle or sheep according to the season. So these people were the pastoralists who were moving all the time from one place to another in search of water and food for their cattle or the sheep. according to the season. They were moving season to season, where grass is available, where water is available, so they will go to those places. The Van Gujars of Punjab Hills and Labadis of Andhra Pradesh were cattle herders. The Gaddis of Kulu were shepherds, and the Bakarwals of Kashmir reared goats. So these many different groups were there, their works were different, but they were called as herders, who were nomads also. They were moving from one place to another all the time. If we see move forward, some took the settled cultivation. Some people were there from these tribals. They have chosen the settled cultivation. They started to settle down on one place for the growing of crop. Many tribal groups had begun to settle down instead of moving from one place to another. They began to use the plow and gradually got rights over the land they lived in. So from previously, the people who were living on the same land, or they were cultivating the land, so they have started to begin that land to plow, to sow the seeds, to gradually they got the right over that land, because from years, months to months, years to year, they were cultivating the same land. British officials saw settled tribal groups like the Gonds and the Santals as more civilized than hunter-gatherers or shifting cultivators. Yes, obviously the settled cultivators have been developed more, or they have become civilized because now they were not moving from one place to another all the time. They have settled on one place. So in compare to hunter and gatherers or the shifting cultivators, these settled cultivators were more civilized. The next and important point we'll see, how did colonial rule affect tribal lives. Colonial or the British rule also was important here for the tribal life. What happened to tribal chiefs when Britishers have come, when British rule had started in our country? What happened to these tribal chiefs, or the sarpanch also we can say? Under British rule, before the arrival of the British, tribal chiefs enjoyed the economic power and had the right to administrate and control their territories. So these Britishers have settled down here, and tribal chiefs were there. They were enjoying the economic power before the Britishers. All the things were economical things, or other things also were in the hands of tribal chiefs. Had the right to administer also and control their territories. Everywhere they were controlling. Under British rule, the functions and powers of the tribal chiefs changed. So what was the role of these tribal chiefs? To enjoy the economic power, to have the administrative power, or to have the control on the territories. Everything has been loosened. Powers of tribal chiefs changed like this. They could now keep their land titles. However, they were forced to follow laws made by British officials in India. Now these people have to follow the rules whatever the given in the British rule, or given by the British officials in India. Then in this case, what happened to the shifting cultivators also? If we see, the chiefs were there, sarpanch were there. Now these shifting cultivators already were moving. So what happened with them? The British were uncomfortable with the shifting cultivators. They wanted to regularize the revenue source for the state, and introduction land settlements. So which regularity? Shifting cultivation did not have any regularity. People were moving after every crop, they were moving to another place. So Britishers here wanted some regularity in the cultivation also. The revenue, for the revenue sources, that if these people, farmers will stay on one place, the revenue will be fixed, that yes, this year we are going to get revenue from these 10 houses, 20 houses. Like this, they wanted confirmation or regularity in the revenue. That's why they have made these land settlements. Their effort to settle Jhum cultivators was not very successful. So it was not that much possible that to settle down these Jhum cultivators. Their whole lifestyle was based on the Jhum cultivation, and so they have not become successful in it. After facing widespread protests, the British had to allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation in some parts of the forest. So these widespread protests means everywhere throughout the country these protests have been started. The British had to allow them the right to carry on shifting cultivation. They did not have any chance to force the people to not to follow shifting cultivation. They had to agree with this on shifting cultivation in some parts of forest. Then new laws have come, new impacts have been done on this. So new laws have been imposed here for the settlement or for the shifting cultivation also for the tribals. The life of tribal groups was independent on the forest. The British extended their control over all forests and declared them as state property. So where these Britishers were going, they were declaring their property, the place or anything as their property. Reserved forests were for producing timber, which the British wanted. So everything was going on according to the desire of the Britishers, whatever they want. So now here they wanted to reserve forests were for producing timber. The British did not allow the forest people to move freely to or practice Jhum cultivation in these areas. Now Britishers were Britishers, they were not going to listen the people, and here they have made some restrictions over the people where to move or where not to move. Thus many tribal groups reacted against the colonial forest laws and rose in an open rebellion. So after these forest laws, the impact was people have become very much reacted or protestive. They have started to do the protest, or they started to give the reactions over here. Then what problem was there? The problem with the trade have come. So what was that problem? That we will see. During the 19th century, tribal groups found the traders and moneylenders were coming into forests and offering cash loans to the tribal people and asking them to work for wages. Now in 19th century, these traders and moneylenders were coming into the forest. They were offering the cash loans to the tribals, that if they require anything from the market they can purchase, or the tribal people can work over there in the villages, and they will get the wages also. Indian silk was in demand in European markets during the 18th century. The Santals of Hazaribagh reared cocoons. The traders spent in their agents who gave loans to the tribal people and collected the cocoons. So with the help of these traders, some tribal peoples or the Santals have started this to rear the cocoons and produce silk thread. So traders have got here the chance, they have become the agents over here. They were giving the loans to the Santals or to these tribal groups who were doing the work of collecting cocoons, and the new work has started. Then also many people were there who were searching for the work. They have left their old jobs and now they are searching for new types of jobs. The plight of the tribals who had to go far away from their homes in search of work was even worse. Very bad condition they had. They had left their old works and now they were searching for the new types of works over here. The tribals were recruited in large numbers to work for tea plantations and coal mines through contractors. Now new contractors have come. The tribal people who did not have any work, in the large number these people were, so they have offered, contractors have offered them to work on the tea plantations, or the coal mines also were there, so the people can work over there. Low wages prevented them from returning home. Now they have started to work on the mines or the tea plantations, but they can't return towards their houses because which rents or which wages they were getting, that were not enough, and that's why the people had to live there. Therefore, the tribal groups rebelled in different of the country against the changes in laws, restrictions on their practices, the new taxes they had to pay, and exploitation by traders and moneylenders. Now the impact has come of these. The tribal groups have started rebel, that which rights they did not get, which work they are getting, wages also are not enough. For that purpose they have raised their voice. They have started rebel because many of the changes have come in the laws. Many restrictions have been imposed on the workers for their practices. New taxes which have forced, or the exploitation also has been started from the traders and moneylenders. They were exploiting the people or these tribals. That's why new rebels have started. If we see the last point, one person was there, Birsa Munda. Birsa Munda started a revolution or a movement. As the rebel has started, many people were taking part in the rebel, but Birsa Munda was the person who has become the leader of all these people. He wanted to get the justice for his tribal people. The British officials were worried as the political aim of the Birsa movement was to drive out missionaries, moneylenders, Hindu landlords and the government. So this rebel was against the missionaries, moneylenders, Hindu landlords and the government, against the poor people, whoever were working against them. This rebel was there. The movement aimed to set up a Munda Raj with Birsa at its head. So Mundas were the tribal group, and here now people wanted that this Birsa Munda should become the leader or head of their community, so he can fight for us. In 1895, Birsa Munda was arrested. He was released in 1897 to destroy Ravana or the Dikus and the Europeans and establish a kingdom under his relationship. He toured the villages to gather support. In 1900, Birsa died of cholera and the movement faded out. So with the Birsa, this movement also has been stopped. In the 19th and the 20th centuries, tribals in many regions of India rose in rebellion. Birsa Munda was the tribal leader and a folk hero who belonged to the Munda tribe. Born in the mid-1870s, he was impressed by the sermons of the missionaries. Birsa also spent time under a well-known Vaishnava preacher and, influenced by his teachings, started giving importance to purity and piety. He started a movement to reform the Munda society. He went against the British and the missionaries, moneylenders, traders and Hindu landlords. He has fought for the right of tribals. The spread of Munda movement worried the British. They arrested and jailed him for 2 years in 1895. After Birsa was freed in 1897, he continued with his movement. His followers attacked churches and police stations and took over the properties of the landlords and the moneylenders. The movement faded out with the death of Birsa in 1900. The movement forced the British to bring in laws to protect the lands of the tribals. The tribals proved that they had the ability to protest against the colonial rule and the injustice being meted out to them. So whatever the injustice were done, they are going to fight with the Britishers. The British wanted the tribals to settle in one place so that it would be easier for them to control us. They introduced land settlements for a regular supply of revenue. Forests were a source of livelihood for the tribals, and so the forest laws formulated by the British had a significant impact on their lives. The British declared all forests as state property and classified certain forests as reserved, and the tribals weren't allowed to cultivate, hunt or gather fruits in their area, which they were doing ancestrally from hundreds of years ago. They had to stop their work. Some tribals were allocated small patches of land and near the forest for cultivation and returned asked to work for the British. The tribals eventually protested against these laws. The revolt of Songram Sangma in Assam in 1906 and the Forest Satyagraha in the central provinces in 1930 were two such major revolts against the British. It also affected the lives of the tribal greatly as they were exploited by moneylenders and traders. By the 19th century, many traders and moneylenders started coming to the forests for purchasing forest produce, offering loans, and obtaining cheap labor. In the 19th century, saw many tea plantations and mines coming up in different parts of India. Since the forests were now under the British, many tribals were forced to leave their homes and work in these plantations and coal mines. So Britishers have forcefully made these tribals to work on the coal mines and the plantations. The British rule also affected tribal chiefs. The chiefs enjoyed administrative and economic powers earlier but now had to follow the rules laid down by the British, pay tributes to the British officers, and stop practicing their traditional functions. The Baigas, Kons, Bhils, Van Gujars, and Santals, Mundals, Nagas, and Banjaras are some important tribals of India who by the 19th century undertook occupations depending on the topography and the climate of a region. Tribes like the Kons and the Baigas of central India were included in it, while the women took up tasks like gathering forest products, collecting wood, clearing fields, and preparing oil and liquor. The men were into hunting, preparing the fields, and growing crops. The Bakkarwals of Kashmir, Labadis of Andhra Pradesh, Van Gujars of Punjab, and Gaddis of Kulu reared animals like goats, cows, and sheep. They moved from one region to another when the grass in a region got exhausted due to a change in the season. Tribes like the Mundas of Chota Nagpur took up to permanent or settled cultivation even before the 19th century. They used plows and grew crops on the same piece of land year after year and gradually acquired the rights over these lands. In this way, we have seen the life of tribals and Dikus in this lesson. Thank you.